play over piety is what someone said to me once.
I like that.
That's how you...
Yeah, piety never is good at a party.
No, piety's never good anywhere.
Oh,
Where's piety
good,
parties? Right?
I want to tie my laces together and jump out a window.
I'm so glad you're here.
Me too.
So I met you only once, and then we...
But you know what?
What?
It was enough to make me want to do this because you were so warm, and you and Bert were just so warm and friendly at Ted Sarandos's comedy. I was surprised. It was mostly stand-ups.
Yes, it was.
But I got an invite. That was cool.
That was very cool.
It was really interesting. Amazing how many stand-ups were there. That was pretty cool. But you were so great, and so was Ted's friend from high school. And he and his wife were there, and they were so cool. You know, you never know at a party, especially parties where you're like intimidated, but it's always nice to find warm people, you know?
Yes, it was a big party. There were so many people there, and I was super nervous.
I was too.
Yeah.
I was really, you know, I just can't think of witty things to say off, you know what I mean? Because I'm not a stand-up. I guess I can, but when I get intimidated, and then I can't think of anything to say.
Yeah. I feel the same way. I mean, I'm just the hot arm piece, right? I'm just showing up looking good. And so there are just so many great comedians in groups like that. I was super shy. So I felt the same way about you. You're so warm. I mean, you're a legend. You're an amazing artist, performer, creator.
Thank you, LeeAnn.
You are.
Thank you.
So impressive.
You know, one of my favorite kind of stories about being intimidated in front of anybody, I met Ted Sarandos years ago, and Kevin Pollak was hosting this boxing tournament. My brother and his significant other, his girlfriend, they had broken up, and he was like, and I thought, I'm gonna, cheer him up. I don't care about boxing, but it was at the Barker Hangar in Santa Monica, so I brought him because there was boxing tournaments. And, we had great kind of seats. It felt very Vegas in the 70s, and Tom Jones was there. I don't remember Tom Jones.
No, really? He was really there? Oh, my gosh.
Yeah. And Ray Boo Boo Mancini.
What?
It was, my brother was like, holy shit, this is great. And then this guy comes up to me and he goes, hey, I don't want to interrupt you or anything, but I'm a big fan and I work at Netflix. And if you ever want to, pitch something, and I go, oh, wow, that's so cool. What do you do? And then his buddy comes over and he says, tell her what I do at Netflix. And he goes, I don't know what the fuck he does. And then I go, sure, you work at Netflix. That's okay. But listen, I will have another Chardonnay, right? And so he laughed. He got me another Chardonnay, and we were just joking around. And then he wrote his stuff down on a piece of paper, on a napkin. Well, like a few weeks later, my friend was over and she said, oh, we're doing something with Netflix now. Do you know what his name is? I wonder if we're working with him. And I go, I don't remember. And so I go, maybe it's still in that jacket. So I go in the jacket, and here it was Ted Sarandos.
Oh my gosh.
And so the funny thing was I then texted him or emailed him and said, hey, it was fun meeting you at the boxing tournament. I'd love to come in and pitch something, an idea, and I'll even go to your real job at Baja Fresh. And he wrote me back. He's like, I'm not allowed to use the computer yet there, but I am up for team captain. So we just started back and forth. And I loved it because I didn't know who he was. Mm-hmm. And if I had, I would not have been, I know I wouldn't have.
Yeah, you would have watched yourself a little bit. Right?
Yeah. And when I do see him, I can feel myself not being myself.
Oh yeah?
Yeah, I mean,
even after that?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. But he's very engaging. So that makes it easier. Mm-hmm. he'll chat about stuff and tell stories.
For sure.
And so that makes it a lot easier. It's not just all up to me. You know what I mean? He's very engaging. And so, yeah, I love that I didn't know who he was.
That's such a great story. I have a similar story with Michael Chandler. Do you know who Michael Chandler is?
No, who is it?
He's a UFC fighter.
Oh.
And we were at an event called the Beer Olympics. And Bert and I were teammates, and we got eliminated pretty quickly because I didn't chug a beer quite fast enough, but whatever. And so I like put myself behind this guy, Michael Chandler, who's very short, very petite, very muscular guy. Had no idea who he was at all. And I decided to back that horse. And I was like, come on, Michael, you got this. You got this. You got this. Kill this beer. You got this. Screw these guys. You're going to win. You're going to beat them. And when it was over, Bert was like, you realize he's like this UFC fighter. And I had no idea who he was. I just thought he was this cute, adorable guy who just showed up to beer.
Well, he's that too.
So dumb. He was, but I was like, gosh, I'm so dumb. And I never would have
I know, but you know what?
done that.
That to me, in any circumstance, when you are just yourself and you are cheering somebody on, like that was so innocent.
Yes, it
and
was.
Sweet. And I think too, when people are famous, they truly do just would like to be treated with, the way you would treat anyone. You know what I mean?
Yes, I think so. Just to be a regular person, have a regular conversation about
but it just
regular
sucks
stuff.
being intimidated,
Yes.
because I can feel myself being nervous and then thinking, man, if I would have just been more comfortable, I probably would have done better.
Well, is there do better? I don't think so.
I know.
I know what you mean though, but I also thought, like when I saw you at Nail Garden, that's your time at the nail salon. I don't ever want to impose either on someone's private time.
I get that. I mean,
that's
because I don't do when I see
I
celebrities
don't
and everything,
either.
I think I don't want to bother them.
No, I've never done that.
And
no.
because I'm so bad when I'm intimidated, I don't put that on myself.
Yeah.
What are you going to do? Like, you're going to go up and you're not going to know really what to say.
Right.
You say hello, but then like what after that?
Yeah.
I'm always amazed at women in this business that go up to other women and they can just yell off how many people they know in common. I know so-and-so and Susan, and we all went to the same, and we, and so do you, and I'm just like, I do not know a lot of people.
I don't either.
I really don't.
I don't either. I know you were saying you don't have kids and you're not married. Do we find something to talk about? I don't think I ever was going to have kids or get married. And I'm like you too.
We talked about that.
I don't know anybody. Yeah, we did, didn't
at that
we?
Party, yeah.
We sure did.
You told me the whole story of how you guys met.
That's right.
And
I forgot about that.
I thought it was so just wonderful when something's meant to be and you hear that story, your story. I was like, okay, that was really meant to be, and he had to work.
Yes, he did. He earned his girl. Well, he earned her.
But you can't chug a beer.
I can. Just the Beer Olympics is all NFL players and UFC fighters.
How are you going to go up
And
against that?
Exactly. So there were 3 women. One was a 2-female team, and then I was Bert's partner. And
what did the women look like?
They were young, and they were in like bikinis, and they're amazing girls, young women. Maddie and Maddie, I'm gonna mess up your partner's name, but they were awesome. They were so cheering me on and rooting for me, and they went pretty far in the tournament. But I wasn't the slowest beer chugger. I at least wasn't last. My goal was to not be last. So we were second to last. So my goal was achieved. I mean, it's all NFL players and UFC fighters.
Honey, give yourself a break on that one.
It was. Okay? I had a boot. There was a whole boot full of beer. It was like a 32-ounce boot of beer. I had to chug it in 1 minute. So to even hang in there,
I don't even like beer.
Oh, I like beer.
Like I like a really crazy cold Corona with lime every once in a while, but it's mostly because of the lime.
You just like the lime. It's good on a hot day, though. Real hot day.
Yeah, it's got to be so cold that I can't taste
and
the
it's
flavor.
got to be glass bottle.
Yes,
I like it. But
yes.
I'm a Miller High Life glass bottle too. I don't like the can as much. But anyway, so you have dogs.
Yeah, and it's funny we're talking about the goal not being last. There was I could win money for charity for. They asked me to do the weakest link. And it was like a celebrity edition. And I was like, I have these 2 charities that I would really like to. And then I thought to myself, I didn't really watch the show.
Mm-hmm.
So I watched some of what they gave me.
Mm-hmm.
And, but I forgot that it was taken from a British show and the woman was very mean on the British show,
Mm-hmm.
you know, and Jane Lynch was hosting and she's not a mean person, but they're hard on you.
It's like snarky. Yeah.
And my goal was not to be the first one to go. I didn't expect to. You know, I figured I would be nervous I could answer trivia questions, but that fast is very difficult. And I was the first one eliminated and it was humiliating. I mean, I thought to myself, well, you know what? If I'm eliminated first, who cares? I'll just go and take the dogs to the park.
Yeah.
You know, I have the whole day. But I didn't realize how, I'm thinking, why did I put myself through this? This is humiliating. And then they film you walking this long walk off.
Oh, the walk of shame.
Know? And then, you know, she hits you with an insult right before you leave.
Oh my God.
And and then everybody votes you off and they say why they voted you off. And I'm like, Laverne Cox, that's harsh.
How dare you?
Like, I'm telling you, man, I didn't need this. I'll never do anything like this again. I never saw a show that makes you feel so awful.
Yeah, right?
Voted off, the long walk, it should just be called Humiliation Station.
Oh my God.
There, I said it, Jane.
That's what it should be. I don't blame you. We also epically failed at Family Feud. My whole family.
Oh, you did?
Epic fail. And most of it was my fault. I was so nervous that they asked the question, what was it? Who had the best butt in Hollywood? But it was like a female butt. And I said Ryan Reynolds. I was like, but he does. I missed the female part or something.
Oh, really?
I missed the female when Steve Harvey was telling me the question. I missed the female part and I said Ryan Reynolds and I just sent us off the wrong. I answered everything wrong. I totally screwed the pooch. It was my fault.
Oh my God.
We didn't even get to my sister-in-law was the 5th person. She didn't even get to play.
Oh no.
I was so bad.
Were you hated after that? The whole family? They said, we're all going out to dinner. You can stay home.
Exactly.
Ryan Reynolds.
Epic fail. It was so bad. I thought, wow, we didn't even get to our 5th player. I mean, that's pretty bad.
It is.
Yeah.
I like watching that with the families.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's fun.
Yeah, that's fun.
It was a fun experience. We had a really good time.
Your dogs are so big.
Aren't they big?
Yeah, they're so sweet though.
So your dogs have funny names, right? Don't they have full names?
Yeah, Adele. That's Adele Castro,
Uh-huh.
and then Desi as Desmond Tutu, and I'm big with rescues.
Yeah, we had a rescue. Her name was Monita Malucci, the world's greatest poochie. She was 17 when we had to finally put her down.
Oh, wow.
She was 17. She weighed
That's a good
12
life.
pounds. And she was the boss of the 2 downstairs. She was the big boss. She was a rescue. She was a real, in the South, we call them Heinz 57s. I don't know why, but they just have a little bit of everything.
Oh, yeah. My dogs before these 2 were Sweet Mama and Ricky. And my Sweet Mama was my dad's dog. And when he passed away, I went to Nashville and just took her home. And she went blind a year later and just lived to like 17 and blind and incontinent. And it was like, you sure you don't want to see Daddy?
He's waiting for you.
You don't want to see Daddy? Oh, she's like, oh, throw seeing somebody in my face. You know I can't see. But I taught her this thing, like whenever I would talk really sweet to her, she would just get on her back and spread her legs.
Aww.
So I would take them to the park and I go, their dogs would be doing tricks and I go, Sweet Mama, where's your coin purse? Where's your coin purse, Sweet Mama? Where's your coin purse? She'd get on her back and people were like, how'd you teach her that?
Where's your coin purse? That's so great.
And Ricky, when Ricky was bad, I would yell across the park, Ricky, Richard Milhouse Nixon, get over here. And you knew whenever I said that, he better come.
That's so funny. I always wanted to name a dog Stephanie because I thought it would be funny to be at a park and go, Stephanie, get over here, Stephanie. But I never have. Never have.
It still can happen.
I still have time. Yes.
You still have time.
We have Izzy and Mac. But I get vetoed every time I bring up Stephanie, every dog. And they're like, no. My kids are like, no.
When my dad had met his girlfriend that he was with for like 25 years, and the reason why they lasted is because they lived in different states. But they met in California. And he said to her, what's your dog's name? She said, Cheri. And he's like, why'd you name your dog Cheri? And she goes, I always wanted a daughter named Cheri.
Mm-hmm.
And it was so funny because she just called me downstairs.
Oh, no way.
And she's like a stepmom.
Yeah.
I mean, they never married, but I mean, she's just so maternal and she got her daughter Cheri.
Well, that's sweet. 25 years is a long time to be together.
Yeah, but it was mostly because then my dad moved to Nashville and she moved back to Jersey.
Oh, okay.
But they saw each other all the time. They would go back. But I think they lasted so long because everybody in our family loved her so much.
Aw. Wife of the Party is sponsored by Shopify. Picture this. It's midnight and you're lying in bed, scrolling through this new website you found, hitting the add to cart button on that item you've been looking for. After 15 minutes, you've decided you've done enough damage to your wallet and decide to check out. You remember that your wallet/card is in the living room and you don't want to get out of bed to go get it. Just as you're getting ready to abandon your cart, that's when you see it. The purple shop button. That shop button that has all your payment and shipping information saved, saving you time while you stay warm in your bed. That's Shopify. And there's a reason so many businesses sell with it. Because Shopify makes everything easier from checkout to creating your own storefront. Shopify is the commerce platform behind millions of businesses around the world and 10% of all e-commerce in the United States. From household names like Mattel and Gymshark to brands just getting started. Get started with your own design studio with hundreds of ready-to-use templates. Shopify helps you build a beautiful online store to match your brand's style. Get the word out like you have a marketing team behind you. Easily create email and social media campaigns wherever your customers are scrolling or strolling. And if you're ready to sell, you're ready for Shopify. We've been using Shopify for a very, very long time. It helps us get our merch to our customers quickly, easily, efficiently. Is so easy to navigate. Couldn't run our business without Shopify. Turn your big business idea into cha-ching with Shopify on your side. Sign up for your $1 per month trial and start selling today at shopify.com/wife. Go to shopify.com/wife. Shopify.com/wife. How many siblings do you have?
2 others.
2 other siblings. Did you grow up in a funny household?
It was very chaotic. Very chaotic. But my brother was very funny. My sister was a great audience. My mother was very, very, I would say, not the happiest. Yeah. Back then when people were depressed, they had uppers and downers or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
So I lived for my mom to be happy. So I always paid attention to anything that made her laugh. And I remember when she was in a good mood and she was laughing because she would play comedy albums. So by like 2nd, 3rd grade, I had memorized Cheech and Chong, Woody Allen, Bill Cosby, George Carlin. Who else? But I literally had them memorized. And if I didn't understand a joke, I would figure it out in the context of the sentence. And I remember like in 2nd or 3rd grade, a nun said, does anyone have a joke? And the kids like, oh, what happens when you throw butter out the window? What do you get? And, a butterfly. And I raised my hand. I was so excited. I went to the doctor the other day. He said I was schizophrenic. I said, no, I'm not. Neither am I. And the nun goes, "Put your head down, Miss Oteri." I was like,
What?
rough crowd. But I think that really did. And then I remember very early on when we got cable, they played Woody Allen's Love and Death a lot. I had that whole thing memorized. It was one of the funniest movies I ever saw in my life. I mean, I would quote it all the time. Truly, I would think maybe the funniest movie ever.
I don't think I've ever seen it.
Oh my gosh.
I'll have to watch it.
It's during the French Revolution and Napoleon and it is one of the funniest movies I've ever seen.
Is it really? I'll
Yeah.
have to watch it.
Yeah. So yeah, I think maybe my sense of humor came from just being in my imagination all the time and, being influenced by the comedy albums.
Yeah.
People are like, oh, was it Carol Burnett? Was it, this person or that person? And I would say it was more the comedy albums. They were like, I loved Carol Burnett, but it's so funny. I always hated when they broke and everybody loved when they broke. But I was so into the sketch. And then when I got into the Groundlings, like we weren't allowed to break. You broke if something happened, like unexpected. And we were never allowed to break on SNL. And then that was like a no-no. And then Lorne started letting people break, and it takes me out of it. Like, I love the commitment of like the Groundlings we were really taught everything is commitment.
Right.
And I didn't like it when they broke, but everybody loved it. But I couldn't believe how into the sketch I was. I was committed to the sketch.
Yeah. But you definitely were committed to everything you ever did or I ever watched you do on SNL. That's part of what made you so brilliant, is that you were doing things that were ridiculous, that we at home were laughing so hard to how you stayed so in the moment. It's really
Well, that's
impressive.
what
Really
I grew up
focused.
with,
Right.
watching SNL.
Yeah.
You commit. And when you're not allowed to, you don't.
You don't, right?
Yeah. As I said, unless something happens that wasn't expected.
Right.
One time I was doing Morning Latte with Will, and it was a dress show. And we had this thing, where, and I wrote where he goes like this with a book and hits me in the head.
Yeah.
And I forgot about it.
Oh, God.
And he hit me in the head so perfectly. It didn't hurt, but I did see stars. And I couldn't get back on the cue cards. I was seeing stars.
Wow.
And the audience went, oh, it just made the perfect sound. It was acoustically the perfect hit. I don't remember it hurting as much as me. Like, if I was a cartoon, I would go, hi,
Yeah.
But that was like the only time I think I broke and I couldn't get back. I could not. He had to say my lines.
Oh my gosh.
Because tears are coming down my face. It was so unexpected. I just couldn't recover. But that was a dress show. So
do you remain friends with a lot of people you were at Saturday Night Live with? It seems
it's fun
like
to see them.
Yeah.
When you don't see somebody for a long time and then you see them and it feels like we went to high school together.
Yeah.
And it's always nice.
Yeah, I would imagine. Such a unique shared experience, right?
It truly is.
Such a small group of people.
It really is. And I consider myself so lucky to have been there when I was, because right when I got there, they had cleaned house. Everybody was let go pretty much. And so it was like everybody starting first grade at the same time, So nothing was established. There were no groups already, like somebody's like, really famous and people trying. I think it's very hard for people to come in, when people have been there for years to get their stuff on. But I really benefited from being, going in there when everybody was just brand new.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
So when you were in high school, was that the goal for you to be on SNL?
I wasn't even trying to be an actor or actress. I moved to LA to get in the music business.
Oh, no way.
I always wanted to be a singer, but I knew I didn't have a good enough voice.
What kind of music were you into?
Pop, rock, mostly, but R&B as well. And so I was like, I'm going to get behind the music. So I moved to LA and I got a job at A&M Records.
Mm.
And I was working in their publishing department, Alma Irving. And I always heard, oh, you should be a stand-up. You should be a stand-up. I couldn't imagine me doing that. And then someone said, oh, you should do the Groundlings. And I said, what's the Groundlings? They said, it's an improv troupe. I said, what's improv? They said, it's comedy you make up as you go along. I'm like, what? Who is this God you speak of improv? So I went to the Groundlings, and when I saw a show, I was like, I can't believe this exists. This is Saturday Night Live, but on a smaller stage. But it was included improv too. And the whole time I was working at A&M, I was taking classes at the Groundlings. And then I had a commercial agent. I got a commercial agent and said, you have to quit your job. This is not a fluke. You have to be able to go on auditions.
Wow.
Or else we're going to drop you. And I was like, but I had a good job. That was fun, but creatively, I was into the Groundlings, but I thought, how am I it's like starting all over again, a career that I never even thought about.
Mm-hmm.
But he got me and I quit and I started temping. And I got into the main company, performed for like a year and a half, and I got SNL. It's like my first job.
Amazing.
But being in the Groundlings and 2 years of classes, 2 years of the Sunday company, a year and a half of the main company, there's nothing that prepares you better for SNL. So I hit the ground running.
Yeah. It was meant to be, for sure.
Yeah.
It was your path.
And it's funny because I say to people, I wouldn't have dreamt that big.
Mm. Yeah.
And so I was guided.
100%.
Because spirits are like, she's not going to even think to do it. She's never going to think she could ever do that. All right, let's get her there another way.
That's right. I believe
First, they had to have my boyfriend break up with me in Philadelphia.
Is that what sent you to LA?
Yeah. Well,
did you think you were like in love and he was the one?
I was.
You did.
Oh, I was.
Yeah.
I just knew I was going nowhere there.
Mm-hmm.
And I just thought, I'm going nowhere. And I always wanted to live in California. Always, always, always.
Did you?
I was always drawn to it. And then with my friends from school, we all took a trip out because one of my friends' father lived in Laguna Beach. And so we took a trip out and my dad lived here. And so I took a trip when I was 21 and saw my dad here. And then my dad had moved to Nashville, but my mother sent my brother to live with my father when he was like 15 because he was so bad. She couldn't handle him anymore. And so when I came out, I stayed with him and his girlfriend for about a month and started working, answering phones at the A&M Records publishing company.
Mm.
And then I moved up into promotion. But yeah, I totally, I think sometimes the universe, if you won't do something, they'll make your life so miserable that, you can't say like an excuse anymore.
Mm-hmm.
And I truly think that anytime that I left somewhere because I was absolutely miserable, it was either time, or, I shouldn't say that.
That it's time? You shouldn't say.
No. I mean, that doesn't go for everything.
What, that time is the reason, that it was just time for you to part?
Like some jobs, that you loved. Like I worked at A&M Records and I loved it for years. And then they had hired in my department 2 people that were not very nice, and it changed the whole vibe.
Boy, isn't that the truth?
Vibe.
Yep, I see what you mean. Yeah. So the universe was pushing you out in a sense. I think this is what you mean, is that 2 people were put in place. None of this was under your control and made the situation that was wonderful not so wonderful.
And I don't know if I would have moved on because I felt so lucky to, from where I came from to have this great job in the music business, but it wasn't where my creativity was. I wanted to sing, but the Groundlings and the theater, like doing that, creatively, I was going on all cylinders.
Right.
It's like, I always say I liken it to falling in love because I would go home from a class and either not sleep because I did well or not sleep because I did poorly.
Yeah.
And I would just stay up and think about it and think about it and think about it.
Yeah. And
I always thought to myself, I always would be like to have a job where you never looked at the clock. And the funniest thing is SNL. If you do look at the clock, it's going to be like 4 a.m.
Right. This is an ad by BetterHelp. Workplace stress is now one of the top causes of declining mental health, with 61% of the global workforce experiencing higher than normal levels of stress. To battle stress, most of us can't wave goodbye to work, but we can start small with a focus on wellness. Every morning I start my day reading a book. I open a book to a page. It's not like a novel or anything. It's a book that has like helpful sayings on it. And I read that helpful saying and it helps me start my day. A holiday is great, but it isn't a long-term solution to stress. Don't forget that therapy can help you navigate whatever challenges the workday or any day might bring. I've been in therapy for years, and therapy, I know, gives me a time, 8 a.m. on Thursdays, when I can take care of any problems I'm having. If I'm having stress, if I'm having emotional, if I'm having work, if I'm having friendship problems, I know that appointment with my therapist is where I'm going to work it out. With over 30,000 therapists, BetterHelp is the world's largest online therapy platform, having served over 5 million people globally, and it works. With an App Store rating of 4.9 out of 5 based on over 1.7 million client reviews. It's convenient too. You can join a session with a therapist at the click of a button, helping you fit therapy into your busy life. Plus, switch therapists at any time. As the largest online therapy provider in the world, BetterHelp can provide access to mental health professionals with a diverse variety of expertise. Our listeners get 10% off their first month at betterhelp.com/wife. That's betterhelp.com/wife. So what was it like when you left SNL?
Well, I didn't know what I was going to do. I had a 5-year contract and I left and I completed the 5-year contract. Yeah. And I didn't know. And then, it was kind of like a bidding war went on between Fox and CBS. And I ended up doing a deal with CBS. And I found an amazing writer. And I read through so many original pilot scripts. Because when you read something that's already on in a success, you can't really tell how they write. It's much easier to write for characters that are already developed. So I found a great writer, and we knew what we wanted to do. And when it didn't get picked up, I was blown away. Yeah, it was like, what? I was naive. I was discovering so many things for the first time. So many things.
What a different world too, from New York, from SNL. From what I understand of SNL, it's like boot camp or war every week.
It is. You're essentially auditioning for a show that you already got, but you audition every week to get in.
And you have to write.
And you're writing.
Yes.
And you're competing with the other writers.
Right. It sounds, for the audience, amazing, because then all of you or all of the cast members are really vying to have the best possible piece of art. every week. So that for me, that's amazing. But for you, that seems...
Well, the thing is, it's like they say you don't get paid as a writer because technically they're writers, but that doesn't mean they have to write for you.
Right.
Writers write what they want to write.
Right.
So if you're never written for, then what are you going to do?
Yeah, why are you there?
You know, like you have to write. And it was great because the Groundlings really teach you, you know, but I also collaborate, you know. I wrote a lot like with Will and with Matt Piedmont, and I wrote a lot together. And when you find people that you can collaborate well with, and because writers want to get their stuff on too, you know, but that's like how it's always been. People kind of like find each other.
Did you like New York?
No.
Why not?
Because it's like living in a cup of coffee.
What do you mean?
It's so loud. Everything is loud.
But a cup of coffee's not loud.
No, I know, but it's so frenetic.
It is that.
And they call it energy. I like to hear birds chirping. I like a lawn.
Yeah.
You know, I like wide open spaces. I felt very claustrophobic. It's like you're going from box to box to box.
Yep.
You know, and
just wasn't for you.
yeah, not easy to get everywhere. And then some people say, oh, it's so easy, you know. But it was just, I always kept an apartment in LA. And every time I had a 2-week hiatus, I would fly back out. I enjoy New York much more now when I go out.
You do?
Yeah, because I think when I was there, you know, spent so much time working. And just going home.
And just living there is a grind. I lived there for 4 years. Just living there is a grind.
It
so
really
if work is a grind. And living's a grind.
And people would say to me, where are you calling from? I'm like, my bedroom. That's how loud it was.
Yes, I remember.
It was just like so much concrete. And in the summer, it was like living in someone's mouth. The humidity, the stench, when I would go to LA, it was just the difference, the sun, seeing mountains and sky and wide open spaces, and you know, yeah, it was more conducive to that type of landscape than the city.
And I think LA is I love LA. Like I said, I lived in New York for 4 years, and I'm from Georgia. And I never felt at home in New York. Never did. Never found my people. Never found my spot. Didn't. And I came to LA, and within a few months, I was like, okay, this is what I'm talking about. I'm finding people that I can hang out with and talk to.
Yeah.
Everything's chill. You have everything from the fanciest.
I invited you to a game night.
I know, and I was out of town, wasn't I?
Yeah.
And I was so devastated. So Christine downstairs was like, why don't you ask Cheri to be on your podcast? And I kept going, no. She asked me to game night. I don't want to be that person. Like, I don't want to ask her to be on my podcast. I would like to go to game night first or something. And then I'm so busy too. It never happened. But I was like, oh, okay, ask her. But I wanted to know, please still ask me.
You know,
to
you were
night.
so nice at that party. And I'm sure, and I knew that like, oh, you couldn't go, you were out of town or whatever. But, you know, when you meet somebody that's nice, you know, and I knew you guys lived close. So I reached out to you.
Well, do it again. I'll come again.
Okay.
Anytime.
It was great game night.
Was it? Okay. I deep dove your Facebook last night, and you have such a fun life, I think, from watching your Facebook.
Honey.
It looks like you have amazing friends.
I do have some good friends.
Yes. It looks like you have amazing friends.
But listen, you know, Instagram, Facebook, especially TikTok. It's like, I can't think of something where to put on
I'm not on any of that shit.
But I was overthinking TikTok. And then I did something silly one day when I was at the beach, and it was really silly and stupid. And I got like over 1 million, and I was blown away. I'm like, oh, I've been overthinking this all this time.
Yeah.
When you do things that are just in the spur of the moment, it's not contrived. It's kind of like, you know.
You being you.
And yeah.
Just living life.
But it's not like I haven't done a TikTok in so long. But Instagram, you know, you're putting pretty much the highlights, you know?
Yeah.
So it really is an illusion. Like, I'm home a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it's a nice looking illusion. It looks like the people you're hanging out with are nice, lovely people. That's what it looks like. Yeah. Your ugly pumpkin contest?
Oh, that was Kevin Pollak and his wife, Jamie.
Yeah.
They are really into Halloween. And they had this pumpkin carving contest. And whenever there's a game where you compete, I always think, can I just not be last? I know I'm not going to win.
Yes.
I know it. You know, and I'm not artistic that way with the pumpkins. And I love it when people take it serious.
Right.
Really serious.
Yeah. So what kind of games do you play at game night?
Well, this was called Sculptionary.
Sculptionary?
Yeah. Where you get Play-Doh and you get teams. I had a lot of people. like 17.
Oh my gosh.
And we break up into 3 groups. And then Cameron Manheim runs the whole thing. So each person has a team leader. And one by one, she'll say, a Volkswagen Bug. And you can't say anything and you have to try and sculpt and everyone's scared because they're like, nobody's a great sculptor.
No.
You know?
And it's Play-Doh.
Right. And so everybody's got to keep guessing. You can't say a thing. And then, you know, and each 3 team is trying to guess, and whoever guesses it runs then to camera and she gets the next thing, you know?
Okay.
Like peas in a pod, something like that. And it's so much fun. And you know, like I had prizes and Cameron has it. And you feed everybody, you know, so, and then people meet each other. The best thing is like Cameron does a lot of game nights. And what I love is I met some of the most amazing people in the past 20 years.
Have you?
From going to her game nights.
That's so cool.
Like that have become my friends. Mm-hmm. And
she seems a very warm person.
She's amazing. Yeah. And yeah, she's like, she loves, like, I don't like poker. She loves poker. Mm. But it's a really nice way to meet new people.
Right.
You don't have to make small talk.
Right. Because you got something to do.
Oh, and let me tell you something. I despise small talk.
You do? What's your favorite small talk topic if you have to do it?
Dogs, I guess.
Dogs?
That's my go-to. Like, where, you know, you say where you're from, but, you know, I just don't like small talk. But there's a lot of people that you meet and you just somehow just go right in.
Yeah.
To conversation.
Yeah.
And it's not so much small talk.
Right.
I love when that happens.
Yeah.
You know, but it always depends on, you know, the person.
The person. And what you're feeling at the time.
Yeah. So I met, and I love that for meeting people.
Yeah, yeah.
And I had people that some knew each other, some didn't know each other, but everybody like called me the next day and say, who is that person? Who is that girl? Who is that guy? She was good. He was, you know, he was funny or this or that. And it made me feel so good that all these people met each other that way and had a blast, because then you become like a child.
Yes, totally.
Playing a game.
Yeah. I mean, that's how you're close to God, right? They say, right? The closest way to get to God is through play. Is play over piety is what someone said to me once.
I like that.
That's how you.
Yeah, piety never is good at a party.
No, piety's never good anywhere.
Oh,
where's piety
good,
parties, right?
I'm going to tie my laces together and jump out a window.
Right? Yeah, forget it. No piety over here.
I had friends over last night for dinner, and like 5 friends, and I cooked so much, and they bring their dogs. And
wait, what did you cook?
I made cedar plank salmon.
Yum.
And then, because these are like guys, like big guys, and they like to eat, I did a Brazilian tri-tip.
Ooh.
As well. And then I did rosemary roasted potatoes. And then I did a nice salad. And then I did roasted asparagus with a little Parmesan.
Nice.
But it was a lot because these guys I couldn't believe how much food I had. And it all went.
It was gone.
It all went.
Oh my God.
I'm like, my God. Because I know when I have these guys over, it's going to be, I need to make a lot.
It's a feast.
Yeah.
It's a feast. You like to cook.
I like to feed people.
You do. You like to take care of people.
Yeah.
I could see that.
Like when someone, stays at my house in my guest room, I want them to say, that was the best night's sleep I have ever had. Those sheets, you have to tell me where you got them. The mattress. And it makes me feel so good. Like to feed people. And then, I remember growing up, my mom would bring us to someone's house. There's a lot of times where it was like, just to have the kids stay over with my kids,
Mm-hmm.
Not that that happened very often. Usually my mom's like, hey, can I go home and you just keep my kids? And I'll come back in the morning.
Pick them up in the morning.
But, I love to say to people, you don't have to drive. Just,
hang out.
Yeah, just sleep here. And if somebody lives really far.
Right.
But I do like that. Yeah, I like taking care of people, especially feeding them.
Yeah. Is your mom also Italian?
No, she's Irish.
Okay. Was
My dad's
she
Italian.
a big cook?
No.
No. In my experience, now it's just my experience, the Irish aren't big cooks. They're big boilers. They like boil everything, right?
They are.
Yeah.
They are. Everything was boiled.
Yes. Boiled chicken, boiled potato, boiled eggs, boil, everything boiled.
And what's so funny is everything that they boiled now is roasted and it's a completely different vegetable.
Completely.
Brussels sprouts.
Delicious.
Asparagus.
Delicious.
Right? Like cauliflower.
Delicious.
All
Roasted.
the things that were boiled.
Yes.
And then you just put butter on them.
Yep.
Now we're roasting them. Why didn't anybody roast?
I don't know. What's with the Irish?
Well, my mother was like, vegetables come from a can. Oh, I don't ever remember having vegetables that
from a can.
weren't from a can.
That weren't from a can?
I remember saying to my dad and my mom separated like when I was like in first grade. And I remember saying to my dad, why'd you marry mommy? And he's like, do you want to know the truth? My dad had a great sense of humor. And I was like, yeah. He goes, she had a nice ass. And I'm like, oh, really? Well, nice ass, sleeps all day, can't cook. And yeah, it's like my dad's so domestic.
Uh-huh.
But, he left.
Yeah.
And
did he go far? Did he go where he did?
Yeah.
Did he come to California then when you were little?
Oh, no, he lived in Philly then.
Okay.
But it was kind of far. And
so how often did you get to see him?
not much.
Not much. I understand.
I got close with him when I moved to LA
Mhm.
and I was working at A&M Records and doing the theater. We became very close. And it was so nice to have like a hands-on parent, even though he was,
You were an
states
adult.
away.
Yeah.
I never had that.
Mm.
That kind of, hey babe,
Yeah.
hey babe, yeah. So it was nice.
Yeah, that
It
sounds
was
really nice.
Yeah.
Do you think you're more like your dad?
Mhm.
Yeah, I would imagine from what you've described. Sounds like it.
But he would always say, you're hard-headed.
Are you?
I think when you disagree with my dad, you're hard-headed.
So that was a relative term, just because you're disagreeing with him. But are you though? Because I'm hard-headed. I'll admit it, first one to say. I've always been told I was stubborn.
Maybe.
hard-headed. Yeah.
Maybe.
Yeah. It's probably
But
what
never
made
to-
you commit so much to all your skits. So
All right, well, I'll go with
tenacity.
that. I'll go with that, LeeAnn.
Yeah, you know what? Tenacity is the same to me as stubborn is the same as hard-head. Commitment is the same. You can't get you off the path. You get on the path, you can't get her off of it. That's the way I was always. Really stubborn. That's the positive of stubborn is tenacity.
Okay.
mean, that's what
I'm going with it.
I'll give you that one. I don't know.
I'll take it. I'll take it.
So are any of your siblings in LA?
My brother.
Yeah.
My sister passed away.
Oh,
And then, but my
sorry.
brother's out here. He's been here since he was 15. And what's funny is I'm friendly with Eden Alpert, who is Herb Alpert's daughter. And I worked at A&M Records, and she's awesome. And she was, goes to my brother's place, and he does all of these. She's got some amazing art and, does all this special framing, and he can make anything out. But it's so funny how my world with being at A&M and then now Eden and I being, friends, and she missed my game night that night too.
She did.
But she's always at Vibrato. That's Herb's. Have you ever been there?
No.
It's a beautiful supper club.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
No, I've never been.
Yeah, it's beautiful. And she has to be there all the time. But she's a good lunch having. But she's there a lot. But and I love her calling me and like, your brother did such a good job.
That's awesome. That's so cool. So you were just on Mid-Century Modern. Linda Lavin. Boy, I grew up watching her. How amazing was it to work with Linda Lavin?
She was. I also worked with her on JKL. I did a guest spot. And when I tell you, she comes right up to you, eyes, and warm to the point of, I was like, wow. And I grew up watching her.
Mm-hmm.
And little do you know how multi-talented she is, unless you're really up on Broadway.
Mm-hmm.
But singer, Broadway, it's like, what a career.
Yeah.
And I was at her memorial, and it was great because we were taken from her childhood all the way up,
Wow.
to when she passed. And what a career. And when she wasn't working, she was, I don't know, South Carolina, North Carolina, some small town remodeling houses with her boyfriend. And her boyfriend of many years spoke. And a lot of people got up there, and just some songs were sung and stories were told. And, it was like, I learned so much about her. And then when I did Mid-Century Modern, same thing. She's like, Cheri, why don't you come in a week ahead of time and just get to know the lay of the land and just hang out at my trailer.
Wow.
I was thinking, all right, I'm a little too intimidated to just make small talk in a trailer. I was afraid that I wasn't going to, and I didn't, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I love that she offered that. She was so lovely.
Yeah.
So warm. And when that happened, I everybody was just devastated.
Yeah.
Very sudden.
Yeah.
But the memorial was so beautiful. And she lived an amazing life till the end.
Right.
She worked literally till the end.
She did.
And just accomplished so much. And there was so much love there for her. She touched a lot of people's lives.
Yes, she did. For generations.
Yeah.
And in so many different places, on television, on screen,
Yes.
on stage. Yeah, she was an amazing person. It was so cool you got to work with her.
Yeah.
That was great.
And then, let me see, what was it? A couple nights ago, I just came on because I did, and just like that.
Yes.
But we shot that so long ago.
You did?
Oh my gosh, it's like almost a year.
Really?
Yeah. And it aired, and
It aired? Oh, I thought it was coming up, but it's already aired.
yeah, it's the second episode. I mean, you can, but
You play a matchmaker, right?
yeah. And it's funny because my best friend is a matchmaker,
Oh, no way.
but she does in Colorado. And she used to be the publicist at SNL.
No
One
way.
of the publicists, for NBC. And that's how we met, and we've been best friends ever since.
How about that?
Yeah.
And she's a matchmaker.
She's amazing.
How in the world does a person become a matchmaker? And what is that even? How do you even figure that out? How do you do that?
She would do this show podcast thing called Clam Chatter. A women's chatter, right? And I'm like, Joanna, that is the funniest, the best.
I love it.
And so
I love it.
she had all of these wonderful females on there.
Clam chatter.
Every background. And she just, so many of them were single.
Mm-hmm.
And then she tried fixing people up. And then she got with another matchmaker and started working with them. And then she's like, I can do this on my own.
Right.
But I think she's working now with somebody else. But it's mostly like in Boulder, Colorado. And that's so funny. Like, I'm single. My best friend's a matchmaker. and I just played a matchmaker. It was such a fun role.
It looked fun. You were delicious in the clip that I saw because you were not letting the lady that was talking to you
Sarita.
intimidate you. So good. You did such a good job, and you had. It was really good.
Let me tell you something.
Tell me something.
I said to Joanna, she went to a conference, matchmaker conference. I go, were they obnoxious? Because you just think of them as very hard and like, you can't do that.
Yeah.
And I think, I'm thinking of Patty Stanger, like, it's kind of rough, being rough on people. And so that, I was a little inspired by that, but the writing is so good on that show. Just that kind of know-it-all.
Yeah.
And Joanna said, no, they were really, really nice and interesting. And yeah, because I'm thinking, I said to her, I go, how do women get into that?
Mm-hmm.
And how do you find men to hook up with these women?
Right.
Like on the sites, everybody, goes to them in droves if they want to, meet somebody. But, to be protected. And like, it costs a lot too.
Does it?
Yeah, professional matchmakers.
Costs a lot.
Yeah, they usually cost a lot.
I would imagine, but I have no idea.
But like, how do you find your men? It's easy to find single women.
Yes.
But how do you find men that you would pay into something for?
Right. There's a lot of single men, I think, looking for women that are genuine in what they want. And they genuinely want companionship and to find that spectacular thing. I think there's lots of very romantic-minded men. I don't know any.
I think so,
but
too.
Just kidding. Yeah,
I'm on a site, but I very rarely pay attention to it.
No. It's going to have to fall in your lap, maybe.
Yes.
Yeah.
I would love that.
Well, a lot of things I'm
going to depend on the universe's timing.
Well, you have done that your whole life, it sounds like.
I've been a late bloomer in every area.
Do you think so? Were you late to SNL?
Yeah. I was in my early 30s. But yeah, everything. I've been a late bloomer.
Why do you think that is? And who says you're late? You're just...
Well, comparatively. But
why do you think that is?
I always thought as a kid that I was born without an identity.
Really?
I used to watch people be.
Mm-hmm.
Because I didn't know who I was.
Mm.
And I think I looked at my mother to tell me who I was. And she was just, not really able to. And so I used to just watch everybody. And I would study people,
mm-hmm.
And it held me back, I had a lot of fears, I guess.
It also propelled you forward, don't you think? Because you took that into your career and the ability to create all these different people.
Oh, it definitely
directly
benefited
related to that.
Yeah. Between the comedy albums
mm-hmm.
and television, because I would watch TV and I would always imitate what I saw,
mm-hmm.
So
you're a vessel a little bit.
Well, I was just always performing, but not for many people.
Mm-hmm.
It was like I lived in my own little fantasy world.
So do you think some of the performing was a searching?
No, it was an outlet.
It was an outlet.
It was like, I would imitate soap operas.
Oh my God.
Because they were just so civilized compared to my house.
Mm.
It's like, their conversation. It was like a soap opera. Like, it's ridiculous. Nobody's life is like that, a soap opera. But I would always imitate people in soap operas.
Mm-hmm.
And my mother would come home and I'd say, "Oh, Mother, you startled me. I didn't hear you come in. I trust your visit with Adele was pleasant." She would say, "No, all she does is talk about her kids. This one's smart. This one's athletic. This one is talented." I'm like, I can't imagine how awful that must be for you. She hated people that talked about their kids.
She did.
She didn't hate, but she was like,
That wasn't her thing.
"Oh, all she does is talk about how great her kids are." I'm like, I'm sitting right here.
Right. Do you think she wanted kids?
No.
You don't?
I think that it was a time where you just had kids.
That's what you did.
Yeah.
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 And
I don't think, like, there was a mom up the street, had 6 kids. Her husband left. And I was friends with the daughter. And the mother loved being a mother.
Mm-hmm.
And you could tell.
Yeah.
Yes,
I do.
And I would be like, I mean, she had it rough, that woman.
Mm-hmm.
3 boys, 3 girls.
Wow.
And
6.
no child support.
Mm-mm.
And I'm like, now that's the struggle. But I would always go to their house, and she would always have, they had meat and potatoes every night pretty much because it was Dinty Moore stew.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that woman could stretch $1.
Right? Dinty Moore.
Dinty Moore
Had a little bit of that myself. I know exactly
that was
what it is. Yeah.
big dinner
Yeah.
thing that in their family.
Yeah.
And I was like, here's your meat and potatoes and a vegetable.
Yeah. But you wonder if it really was a struggle, if she really wanted to be there.
No, it was a struggle financially.
Yes.
And then 3 boys.
Yeah, it's a lot.
I mean,
but emotionally, if you want to be a mom, and even though it's hard, it's difficult. Difficult is different than it's a different thing than you're someone who doesn't want to be there, or someone who's miscast in the role.
I think my mom also had depression,
mm-hmm.
and that kind of, and that's back when you just dealt with it.
Mm-hmm.
And
it makes everything hard.
And so she was dealing with that,
mm-hmm.
and raising 3 kids all 2 years apart.
Right.
And it was rough, but I would see when parents enjoyed, the kids. I would from time to time make my mom laugh,
mm-hmm.
which was nice because all I did was, like, I lived to make her laugh or happy. It was almost like I more catered to her happiness.
Mm-hmm.
So when she laughed, I loved it.
Yeah. Make you feel that way when you made other people laugh?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But what it was sometimes is when I wasn't making people laugh, I felt like I wasn't there. Like,
interesting.
Like I didn't have a personality.
Do you still feel that way?
No.
We all grow up at some point, right? Thank God we're not all like we were when we were 20.
You got to work through
all of it.
Things that you went through, and what used to protect you is now the thing that is keeping you down.
Yeah, for sure.
So that's what kids do. They adapt ways to cope.
Yes.
And there's no instruction booklet for them, and they just do whatever they can do to be okay.
Yeah. And it's successful in the moment, usually.
It is.
And then there's a moment.
But then a lot of times as an adult, that is what you have to kind of then
unravel.
Yeah. So.
And the unraveling can be very interesting, right? can be challenging. It can be scary.
It's freaking hard. That's why you have therapists.
Yes, it is
that are
hard.
like, everybody's going to therapy, and it's really like to work through things that aren't working for you.
Yeah.
Old ways of thinking,
Mm-hmm.
limited ways of thinking. And you have to rewrite the script, and I'm lucky that I can do that.
You have done that.
Yeah.
Yeah, you have.
I'm great.
Anyway. Well,
I'm great.
Flash.
No.
I feel your pain. I've done the
it's all
same
good.
myself. We've all done it. I mean, when you're a woman of a certain age, one would hope you've worked through a lot of this
Yeah.
stuff. That's what life is about.
And that's why it feels like I'm really okay.
I think you're fucking fabulous. Excuse my French.
Well, you can speak French all you like. No, but it's kind of like, all right, what boxes are checked? Work, and that's a struggle.
Yeah.
But, the funny thing is you just become so much more appreciative when you do get something, I find that, it's like when you're starving and someone hands you a cracker, you're like, well, this is the best cracker I ever had. Eddie Murphy said that in his stand-up. And I always loved that analogy. But, you just appreciate it so much more, especially when you're doing something good, like the little turn I did on Mid-Century Modern. It was just like a small thing, but this casting director, who's a doll, Julie Ashton, she's like, Cheri, can you be at this the read-through tomorrow? I think there's part is like it's small, but it's so funny. And then I got there and I was like, oh my God, Max Munchnick, David Cohan, Nathan Lane, Matt Bomer, and Linda Lavin, and just like I was so nervous.
Yeah.
But the part was so damn fun and well written. And I feel like a kid.
Yeah.
Because I was just like, this is so fun. Such a fun part. I can't believe I'm here. And it was like that with the and those who can't, because it was such a fun part.
Yeah.
When you get those, they're so few and far between that, you just are so appreciative,
Yeah. Yeah. It's the juxtaposition, right?
Yeah.
That makes it all kind of clear. What are
Yeah.
you going to do with the rest of your day? Anything fun?
I have got to fly to, I just found out today, I'm flying to Philadelphia tomorrow night. So I have got to finish laundry and pack.
Nice.
Yes. And
I love Philadelphia. Bert's mom's from Philly. I've not spent a lot of time there, but every time I go there, I love it. I love the people in Philly. They're so real.
Yeah.
I love Philadelphia.
For sure. And the food,
Amazing.
I mean, when I go back home for a wedding, it's on. It's on. Just the cocktail hour food is, you have all these stations. Raw, ice raw, antipasto, the stations. And we know how to cook.
Yeah.
I love going home to a Philly wedding because.
Is that what you're doing at a wedding?
Oh, no.
No.
I'm going home to do a collaboration with, there's a great Italian store
Yeah.
in Philly. They have six stores in Philadelphia, and
What
it's
kind
called
of store?
DeBruno Brothers.
DeBruno. Wait, I know this.
Yeah,
DeBruno. Yes, I know this store.
they're amazing.
Yes.
And so my cousin works there, and he's like, Cher, what do you think of doing? Because if you come to my house, you'll see I love doing charcuterie boards.
Yeah.
I always take a picture of my charcuterie boards because they're so beautiful. And I love doing them. Love doing them. And so he said, what if we did for the summer, a kickoff for the summer, and you do your own custom charcuterie board.
Charcuterie. Oh my God. That's
Right?
amazing.
So
A charcuterie board.
I was like, oh my gosh. So I'm going to we're going to shoot this thing where I get to do my own charcuterie board, and they're going to do a whole campaign and sell them over the summer
I love that.
for like concerts,
Yes, perfect.
you know, summer concerts.
Yeah, that sounds great.
I know.
That's going to be really fun.
I know. So I got to pack.
You got shit to do. Well, thank you for coming to talk to
Honey,
me
this is
today.
my pleasure.
I had so much fun. I hope you had
Me
fun.
too. And so you're going to come over.
Please.
We're going to have a charcut. I just say charcut night.
I know. I love
And
that.
and you live close, close
Yeah.
enough. And if Big Boy wants to come, fine. If Big Boy, is out somewhere on the road, just you.
I'll do it.
But I love Big Boy.
And I love him too. He's a good one. He's a keeper.
I know. I almost didn't recognize him with a shirt on.
I know nobody does. That's how I knew we were meant for each other. I didn't even notice he had his shirt off. And I'm like, really? That's an odd thing. Not where I'm from. This is kind of standard guy. He's just a guy. That's
so
kind of my
funny.
thing. Yeah, yeah.
All right, my
Thank you.
sweetheart.
Thank you.
Okay.